Hello and welcome to Letterbox Book Club. I'm Mackenzie.
And I'm Claire.
And today we will be discussing Wild Love by Elsie Silver, #1 in the Rose Hill series.
Woohoo!
Which is like the adjacent to the Chestnut Spring series.
Sorry, Bo, we are not reading your book in the Chestnut Spring series. We've abandoned you.
I may read it like for fun as a palate cleanser for something, but I'm not seriously going to read it.
Sure, yeah, fair enough. The cowboy rot is remaining.
Yes.
Also, we received this book from Hachette, I believe, as an ARC, but at this point, I'm pretty sure the book is released worldwide and everything, so we're a little bit slow on that front, but that's okay. We have other things to do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, once again, thank you, Hachette, for sending this out to us.
Yes, thank you so much. I think this was one of the books I first requested.
Yeah.
Because we were deep in cowboy brain rot. And I said, anything by Elsie Silver, please send our way.
And they said, all right, say less, Queens. Boom.
All right, shall I start us off with the blurb? She's been driving him wild for years. The kind of wild that comes with wanting your best friend's little sister and knowing you can't have her. Forbes may have labelled Ford Grant the world's hottest billionaire, but all he cares about is escaping the press and opening a recording studio in the gorgeous small town Rose Hill. Something that comes to a screeching halt when he ends up face to face with a young girl who claims he's her biological father. After years of living in the city, Rosie comes back into town like a storm, beautiful, messy and chaotic. One wide-eyed, desperate plea for a job is all it takes for Ford to hire her. He vows to keep her at arm's length, but with her, verbal sparring is a type of foreplay, friction that soon turns to blistering heat. Ford knows damn well he shouldn't cross this line, but shouldn't and can't are two very different things, and the only thing he truly can't do is resist her. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, Claire?
I was just going to say wonderful blurb or synopsis or summary. Alright, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Look, despite all the issues that I have with this book is 5 stars in my heart. Wow. Only for one reason only. Can you guess? It was all the bowling. It just made me... I was like 5 stars immediately, because for those who don't know anything about me, I am a bowling gal. I also bowl in a league weekly, and I just loved that aspect to this book.
Dad's Night Out.
Dad's Night Out, but in saying that, because it's called Dad's Night Out, I'm concerned with this single dad or dad's epidemic that we got going on in Rose Hill, you know? No, yeah, I just love that. That whole element just gave everyone a bit of a hobby, a bit of a wind down.
They're not all single dads, though.
I just realised as I said that out loud, you know. Anyway, I'm just going to pretend they're all single dads. Okay. Anyway, I just loved it, because it was a bit different as well, and I just loved every interaction in regards to that. And I loved Ford's hatred to it, but he joins anyway. So yeah, other than that, that's the 5-star aspect. Otherwise, I have some issues with this book. I don't know how to put it, or like at what point do I say it, you know? I mean, like, ultimately it was fun. There were some aspects that I just didn't agree with, but I just ignored it anyway. I liked the quality banter between Rosie and Ford. I thought just like the third act conflict was a little weak. I did have a fun time reading it at times, but yeah.
Okay.
I'll just say that's it for now.
Well, I enjoyed this book. Right up my alley. Sexy, rich men. Damsel in distress, if you will. Had qualms, but that's okay. We'll get into it. I'd give it a solid 3.5 stars. But yeah, it was good. I'm interested to see how the series goes. The thing is, with authors that write multiple series, I feel like there's an expectation that every, series is going to live up to the other one or be better, or that they have to be better, etc. And because Powerless was so fun and so smutty and sexy, So, yeah, Powerless was so sexy, so smutty, so silly and fun, and I really believed in the characters. So, yeah, you have this expectation that the first book is going to be as equally great, if not better. And I feel like this just didn't hit the mark, like, quite right for me. I was about 50% through, and there hadn't been any smut yet. And, I'm not just after smut, but when you set your books up like that, you expect there to be something, I don't know. And because it wasn't, a stark departure from her other stuff, so it was, kind of the same, like, sexy men, young, sexy woman coming together, thrown into each other's paths. Also, and I will call myself out because I don't read blurbs, I first thought that it was going to be about West, not Ford, even though the chapter said Ford. And then I thought that it was going to be about his daughter and West before I realised that she was 12. I thought that was a forbidden love.
Oh no, Jesus. I don't think she'd go that far. But yeah, I was going to say before, there was a bit of familiarity in that, like Powerless, where Rosie and Summer both work for their lover, essentially, in Rhett and Ford. And yeah, it just didn't seem like, as you said, a stark departure from anything else. Yeah. What are your qualms?
Everything is easier when you're rich. The fact that he gave her a $100,000 startup bonus.
I know, right? And she was ungrateful. I'm kidding, but yeah.
And also, just the plot line of his daughter, Cora. Anyway, so I feel like when you donate sperm, you, sign a form or whatever saying that, you don't wish to be contacted or whatever. But sometimes you can say, yes, I am happy to be contacted. I think there's a difference between though, just, willy-nilly donating sperm or, donating sperm, for... IVF purposes. I don't know the intricacies because I know someone in my life who is an IVF, a sperm donor baby, and they have all the information on their dad and stuff, and they get access to that when they're 18. So I feel like if he just was looking for $100 to go to a concert, then he wasn't wanting the responsibility of being a father. So I feel like he would have checked that, please do not contact me.
No. So yeah, that was my whole big thing is, the believability of the whole being the biological father of Cora, and the fact that she found him. I think it was just from a wild DNA test or whatever, on Ancestry.com or whatever that linked them together. Because I felt like he would have opted out of the whole. Can you be contacted? I just thought it was such a bizarre concept, and I know Elsie Silver is great at implementing, real issues into her books and talking about certain things, but I think with this sperm donor journey, I don't think it was it for this.
Yeah.
Everything was just too perfect.
And then also, the perfect, I'm assuming, her parents were older parents or whatever, and there's no other family, so she couldn't go to anyone else. And I feel like they would have found a foster situation instead of, straight away going to the sperm donor. But the point was that there was, no one.
Yeah, and she didn't want to go into foster care either. Yeah, everything was just too perfect. Elsie Silver just doesn't know how to write a very flawed person, because, it was just, the perfect outcome. He accepted her straight away. He was ready to, well, even though he had his issues, and his anxiety trying to be a father, but that was something that he never really wanted to be, so I just felt, I didn't really believe that aspect, so I just ignored everything about it as I was reading it.
Yeah. And then, of course, everything, it's happy wappy willy-nilly in the end, and Cora's mum just moves to Rose Hill, so then they have a life together or whatever. It wasn't even because I thought obviously she's going to get better after her depression treatment or whatever, and then what's that scenario going to be like? But of course it was happy rainbows, put a tag on it, wrap it up. This is neatly
you're
finished.
My new dad now. It's sure, unfortunately Cora's father died, but that doesn't mean you just go searching for another one, on your own accord. And, that's just the thing with Elsie. She's trying to make Ford seem super duper perfect in that, he's very agreeable and he's capable of taking this on in his stride. I don't know if it would have been better if he was in a relationship with a woman who in turn had a kid, so he was, already a stepfather. I think it would have worked if he was already, a stepfather of sorts, and then him and the woman broke up for whatever reason, and then maybe she was, in a depressive state, and then the kid, having been around him for so long, considers him a father figure and then seeks him out again, perhaps. Maybe that could have been better. I don't know, but it just seemed really... My suspension of disbelief was not suspended enough for this. And then also Rosie was talking about how, she's not kind of ready to be a parent, or she's waiting for her maternal instincts to kick in, and then she's just able to bond with Cora easily. I really hated how Elsie tried to add the we hate each other angle between Rosie and Ford. maybe it's me taking everything literally, but they obviously do not hate each other, and I just hated how that was the overarching conflicts, I guess, or they're back and forth about, do we get together, do we not? And it's just like, I don't not want to be gaslit into thinking these two hate each other when, obviously they don't.
Yeah.
He kept her fucking, what was it, the diary key. He broke speed limits to be with her, all that sort of stuff. Like, I just hate that angle.
Yeah, I did enjoy that she was giving him the diary pages, as time was going on, etc., letting her into her world. But I feel like if she hadn't come back to Rose Hill, they would never have had this conversation, like this would never have happened. Again, it just felt too easy. Like, she's moved back, here's diary pages, oh my gosh, I loved you the whole time, blah, blah, blah. I also really didn't enjoy the Ryan situation of it all.
Oh, no, that was going to be tricky. Yeah. As soon as I saw that she's in a relationship, I'm like, oh, how are they going to spin this?
So Rosie and Ryan are together, but, they were college sweethearts, and then they just moved in together, and then, like friends to lovers, friends to lovers to roommates situation. As in, they had just stayed together because it's what they knew, like they had all the same friends, they all had all the same interests, blah, 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 and stuff like that. So it was just comfortable for them. And it just reminded me, and then obviously she moves to Rose Hill indefinitely, and she's just not messaging him or whatever, and then he finally can come out, 2 months after she gets there or whatever. Yeah, and it reminded me, I don't think you've seen it, but the Gilmore Girls special, the A Year in the Life episodes, Rory had this boyfriend, and the running joke was like everyone forgot that she was with him, and she kept forgetting about him and stuff like that. And it just kind of reminded me of that, and it's just such a silly thing. I just want her, I wanted to see her, and other characters in media and writing and literature, I wanted to see her have the confidence to say, you know what, this isn't working for me, this isn't in my best interest, I'm going to cut my ties with the city before I upend my life in Rose Hill.
For sure. Maybe she could have almost taken that power back after she was groped at work as well. Like, that could have been her little, like...
And then again, that whole scenario which got erased.
Until the very end, of course.
Yeah, of course. But
and then it was like far too gone for that issue to even be brought up.
Exactly.
Again,
it's like she's, and then that would never happen. Oh, maybe it does happen. I don't know, but
I'd probably gently argue that it probably does happen. Yeah. But I think the passage of time has gone on for so long. Not to say like don't report or talk about the injustices that happen to you. Like, do it, but for Rhett to react such a way, I suppose. I don't know, I'm in two minds. I feel like it does come across as immature that he keeps doing it, but then again, he is teaching this grubby guy a lesson. But I just thought, we're just kind of over that we've overpassed that for Rosie and her story. And then, I just felt that it was, weak, because I just thought we overcome that.
It felt like, I don't know, the story felt like it was progressing really slowly to me. It was building this barn studio thing because, Ford's a billionaire, because of course he is. And so he's building his studio here in Rose Hill. And then, it's school pickup. And then every other week it's bowling. And then, now we are working, and here's some business things and blah, blah, blah. I did enjoy, though, the email banters. That was fun. From a logistical HR point of view, please don't email your employees like that. No. And also hiring someone you're interested in is iffy at best, and then also dating that person again, and them being in your employ is also a sticky situation.
I loved the email banter as well, but I feel like given that this is an entertainment book, there's no real serious nature of like any HR issues between the two, because they are their own HRs in a way. But I loved the banter, and I loved when things got real and serious, and like they had to adhere to their own level of professionalism that, Rosie really kept on with, like, when we're being professional now. Another aspect that I enjoyed about this book, though, was every time they referred to Ford as the hottest billionaire, it's always a different adjective. Like the world's stupidest billionaire, or the world's whatever billionaire. It was just great. It really had that comedic sort of element as well, which is also quite enjoyable. Now that I think about it, it is, very too easy. I'm thinking about Cora and her family and everything, and just how easily, introduced she is into, or inducted, I guess, into Ford's family. And, like, his parents were, like, really happy to be grandparents straight away. It's like, no one thought like, well, this is a really absurd situation to be in.
Well, I mean, I feel like Willa was like, what the fuck?
It's only because she didn't get told.
Yeah.
She wasn't told first, and they have that thing. Yeah, there was no... Not to say that everything shouldn't be perfect, but I would have expected at least some pushback from somebody.
Yeah.
Be like, maybe you're not ready to be a father, or maybe, like, you're not mature enough, or whatever. You have a whole career ahead of you. Maybe this might not be the thing for you. I don't know. But yeah, just too easy. Any other qualms that you have?
I did enjoy the book, but again, I feel like this little game that we're in, it's very easy for me to pick apart books instead of just saying it was a book, or instead of just being like, you know what, it didn't really speak to me, but it did speak to me. There were just little bits that I didn't enjoy, and that's fine, because any other person would just be like, oh, I just didn't enjoy this aspect of it, but because of what we do.
Yeah, and it's okay to just find aspects in something that's objectively doesn't agree with you either. Something that keeps you going, makes it fun. Oh yeah, and back to like Rosie and Ryan for a second. Yeah, I was very anxious once we found out that Rosie already had a boyfriend, and even I think her friends or family around her were like, what happened to Ryan? And it's like, oh shit, light bulb moment, because in the moment we forget that Ryan exists.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to cheat.
Same. Yeah, I almost wanted him, when they were having that conversation when he came out and stuff, I almost wanted him to be like, well, yeah, I did cheat on you, etc., because I thought that would have been, a cleaner ending rather than just, oh, I knew this was coming. And then the fact that, he made no effort to get out there any earlier to see her. And then, because, I couldn't get time off, or like I've wanted to bank my vacation days for something more important, essentially. And then he wasn't checking in on her, because they had the email threads between Rosie and Ford. They could have put in, a couple of text threads. Like, I would have liked to have seen him at least being like making sure she was okay or something. Because then when they did have that breakup or that conversation, he's like, oh, I kind of knew this was coming. I've been feeling the same way, etc. And then stop. And then he gets upset, and it's like, okay, but you knew this was coming. And then also, you knew this was coming. You haven't checked in on her. She's been out here for a couple of months at this point. Why don't you break up with her?
Yeah. Like, no one had the gall to do anything to make the move. I think it just, encapsulates their entire relationship. Like, they're just comfortable with each other. It's what they know. And, like, no one wants to be the one to break it apart. Yeah, like, why can't... There is no actual bad guy in this book, or bad person in this book. Everyone is just morally great. Like, let's just hate Ryan. Yeah. Let's start the hate Ryan campaign, just for no reason. Or even Rosie. Let Rosie do something wild and wacky. But, it would have been pretty juicy if Elsie went there and made Rosie cheat, because, like, who wouldn't cheat on their partner with a fucking billionaire?
Yeah, I know. Could you see $100,000 just for fun?
Exactly. Like, come on. Be for real.
Yeah. Be so for fucking real right now.
Exactly. No, I think Elsie's just writing too many perfect kind of characters, or flawless sort of characters.
And the thing is, humans are flawed beings. I want to see some realism.
Exactly. The only thing that's, I don't know, gritty about this book is just the swearing. Like, give me actual ethical dilemmas. Yeah. Give me a character death.
You have to choose between killing 4 people or killing, like, your wife,
give us, those qualms. Maybe even Cora, maybe she doesn't actually like being there, but, he's a billionaire and he can give her a shit ton of money. Like, there's no fight back by anyone or anything. But I suppose this Elsie, from what we've gathered, Elsie isn't really the type of author to write like that. Like, as I said, very happy ever after, although highlights all the different aspects of a human life. Highlighted sperm donating is like a viable form of, not only a way to make money apparently, but also a viable way for people to fall pregnant if they have infertility issues and all that type of stuff. Yeah. Also, which is great, but
they touch on it, and I don't know what the next book is meant to be. I should probably just research on that. But they touched on how West has kids, and one of them is like selectively mute or something, and so it's like, okay, so you're kind of touching on some nitty gritty stuff, but you're not entering that. But so I wonder if that's going to come or not, because I like the real world situations like that.
But I think also, like, the kid's only selectively mute, I say not non-verbal, to, I guess, strangers and people that he doesn't know, which is fair. Like, because he talks to West and everything.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay, so I've looked up quickly Wild Eyes, which is the second book. Okay, so, would you look at that? It's about West.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to quickly read you the description. And it's like an orange cover
Yeah, I've
instead
seen
of
it.
pink. See, I love that. Okay. A rugged mountain town seemed like the perfect escape from a life in shambles. But on day one, I ran full tilt into the world's hottest single dad, and now all my plans are ruined. As a chart-topping country singer with a recent streak of bad press, it's hard to find any peace. But I find it in Rose Hill, with a little boy and a little girl who steal my heart just as thoroughly as their dad. Weston Belmont. The man is a shameless flirt. He oozes confidence and masculinity in a way that's downright distracting. And in bed, he's addictive. Everything with him is wild and impulsive, and I'm desperate to regain some control. But no one has supported me like West does, and no one has ever made me feel as loved as he does either. So while my brain says settling down with a small-town horse trainer is impossible, my heart says I'm right where I belong. Still, my life as a celebrity haunts me. It has the power to pull us apart. I can see in his eyes that he wants me to stay, and I want that too. But I know better than anyone that we don't always get what we want. I feel like it's that Skylar chick. But it's weird how even in that description it doesn't say like who the female main character is.
Well, yeah, but it does go in that West is now a single dad. So obviously something happened. Well, that one sounds like it's going to be a bit more nittier, grittier.
Maybe, yeah.
After reading that description, I probably will get into the second book. But I was going to say, from reading this, I'm not compelled to pick up the second book, you know?
Yeah,
But,
fair. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw a quick review comment, like an arc or whatever, or they gave it 5 stars without reading it yet, which is fair. That I think it is about Skylar. And again, it depends like how different they're gonna stray away from each book.
Yeah.
Because like with Chestnut Springs, they did kind of steer away from the ranch, but now I guess Rose Hill is that ranch again, where ranch bubble, where everyone is gonna float in and out of. Yeah. And like Ford in himself is already like a celebrity, so yeah, how different are they going to be? Alright, so maybe a bit of the plot. So we kick off really early where Rosie is attending her big corporate job. I'm not sure what she does ultimately. Big presentation. Upon leaving, her boss, old mate Stan, gives her a bit of a grope on the butt, and she threatens to... Well, it was a battle of who gets to HR first, or whatever, so it turns out Stan did, and so she is ultimately fired. Unfair dismissal claim in and of itself, but we digress. And so she ups and relocates to Rose Hill, not before telling Ryan what happened, and Ryan reacted in a very uncool way, in a very unprotective way. He just expects her to brush it off and just leave it be because, you know, their careers are more important. She's at the bottom of the food chain of this company, essentially, and, you know, she has to keep her head low. And so obviously Rosie doesn't like that response and it doesn't sit well with her, so she then has that sort of bitterness towards Ryan kind of already, although that in itself is breakup worthy, wouldn't you think? Like, you're not supporting me. So, and then Ford, he makes his way to Rose Hill because it's where he wants to build his recording studio. He's in a way trying to kind of be out of his father's shadow in a sense, but it's kind of hard when you are literally named after him.
Yeah.
And rich as fuck, and also is involved with producing and making music. So that's his goal. He has a buddy, West, which is Rosie's brother, and they all come to Rose Hill throughout the summers as they were growing up as well, so they have that, you know, familial bond with each other anyway. Best buds. What can go wrong? And then, like, right off the bat, we get the introduction of Cora through Ford's chapters, and yeah, it is revealed, yeah, when he was 19, he wanted money because his dad was all about teaching them how to be humble when they're young, and not kind of expect money from them. So yeah, one day he really wanted to go to a concert, and he provided a sample for this sperm donor company, and lo and behold, he somehow had an ancestry DNA testing as well, and then that's how Cora found him.
Yes, 12 years later.
Yeah. And Cora's father had recently just died. Her mother is in a depressive state. And in order to avoid being put in the foster care system, because at this point her mother is incapable of looking after her, she finds Ford. accidentally, again, through the first, or maybe it was intentional because she wanted to do the first aid, the ancestry thing. Everything is accepted, all dandy. He, off the page, really goes through with his lawyer and sort out all the legal guardian bullshit, which I feel like is not that easy as well. Because, like, how do you explain that?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, for sure.
it's a bit of a Cook situation. It's like, my dad died, but it turns out he's not my biological father, but here's my biological father.
Yeah.
But him and my mother, they were never together, you know? It's just weird. And then, yeah, Rosie and Ford come back together, and, you know, throughout the chapters, we learn that they both have had this long yearning, in a way, for each other, but they'll be adamant that they hated each other growing up, which is obviously not the case. Yeah, and so Ford hires Rosie, or Rosie begs Ford for a job. She's like, an assistant to the record studio and organises a lot of the renos that's happening. And again, with the Elsie Silver books, there's always this sense of overprotectiveness from our male love interest towards any male character that interacts with Rosie. Like a couple of contractors, although they are described to be sleazy and, you know, looking a little too long, all that type of stuff, but Ford is cracking the whip on the she's my girl debacle, which is always a fun time in this book. And then, there's just like this fun little side plot of Ford and West and their bowling team, and it was just so fun and so silly, and it just adds, a layer of normality. Yeah. Gives everybody a hobby. Like, Summer doesn't really have much of a hobby, and, like, Rhett doesn't have much of a hobby, and this just adds that extra depth to it, and I enjoy it. And then, pining and tension ensues. Some flirty, banterous emails exchanged. Work emails exchanged.
I did, from a HR area, I am scared. But I did also enjoy them from these are so sexy and fun times.
Yeah, and it's not serious. And it's a way to develop their relationship too. Yeah. And I liked their sign-offs getting a bit goofier and sillier.
Yeah, I just love the, have a happy day.
Yeah, because it's just so condescending. Yeah. And I like how when Ford interacted with Cora, or there were issues that arose, like, I don't know, when Cora got a period for the first time, it's like, we are watching this happen, sort of like the teenage experience again in our eyes, and it is embarrassing and weird for her, but, like, it's just, again, adds another level of humanity and normality.
Do you want to hear a funny story about when I started my period?
Alright, I love a personal anecdote.
Okay, so, I think I was 14. Yeah, it must have been 13. I must have been, 13, because I was in year 8, and I turned 14 at the end of the year. Anyway, okay, so if you are a person who gets a period, then you will know that, like, first, your body kind of expels, like, it's the old blood, you know? Like, yeah. Anyway, so, like, at the start and at the end, it's, like, old blood. And in the middle, you get, like, the fresh blood. Anyway, so, like, it's kind of like, I call it the barbecue sauce era.
Ew.
You know it's true. Anyway, because that was happening, I thought that I was involuntarily shitting myself.
Oh no!
Because I thought it was like a skin mark, and I was like, what the hell? Like, why am I shitting myself?
That's funny.
And, like, so I'd be at school, and I'm like, why am I shitting myself? Like, and then...
Are you telling people this?
Yes, I was like, I think I'm shitting myself. And I fully was like... I had this really big mirror in my bathroom, and so, like, I'm coming home from school, and I'm, like, fully, like, butt naked, like, kind of upside down, looking at my butt, trying to look at my butthole, and be like, what the hell is going on? Like, why am I shitting myself? And then, obviously, I figured out that I wasn't shitting myself, but...
It was so funny. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. That's been deep in the archives. The archives of my mind.
You didn't think to just have, like, a little hand mirror and just do a little trick?
No, I thought the full frontal upside down in front of the floor, like, wall to wall, floor to ceiling mirror was the way to go.
I think I was the last one in my family to get my period, which is fine and fair because everyone's bodies is different. Yeah. And I think I just got it. Like, I had the period talk before, so I knew kind of what to expect. But then, I think I was in school at the time, and I just feel like you kind of wet yourself in a way as well. And then I didn't really look until I got home, and it's like, oh, shit.
Yeah. Well, and I felt like I was lucky, because, like, thinking I've been shitting myself, I didn't leak through my clothes, which is good, but we did have one girl who unfortunately, like, leaked through her clothes, and, like, we, like, gave her a jumper and stuff, but she had to, like, wait for her mum to come and drop stuff off, and then all the boys, like, oh, where's her mum bringing her stuff? And it's like, oh.
You don't understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, so, I get, it is awkward, and it's just growing up, and it's just puberty, it's natural. But yeah, I just love that whole scene with Cora getting a period for the first time. Albeit, it's kind of weird that Rosie's the one that kind of saves her, when I feel like it should have been her mother, despite being in a depressive state. Like, her mother she's just been replaced. Yeah. Like, this is a far better, healthier, richer family that I'm just gonna step into the lives of and see her.
Yeah.
But yeah, in saying that, yeah, some moments were taken away from Cora's mother, and that's just not fair. And then, interacting with Ford about that is like, Rosie says to him, oh, Cora has a period, and she's all embarrassed and, you know, not upset, but, like, faux upset about it. And, like, yeah, that's funny, and it's great, and it's relatable, and I enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, I remember I emailed my mum.
Oh, my God.
I was like,
Help.
I was like, I got my period.
Mum, I'm shitting myself. Is this normal?
She's like, you're a woman now.
Oh, lovely.
I was like, oh, great.
So wise. Great, I want it to end, please.
Yeah, I was like, can we stop it?
So, we digress. Thank you for that story, Kenzie.
You're welcome. I hope everyone enjoys that story, because if you think you're shitting yourself, you might not be shitting yourself.
Obviously, now that you're... sorry, I'm circling back to the topic real quick. Obviously, now that you're older, like, you don't mistake that for shitting your pants. Or does it sometimes feel like it?
No, I know that because I know my body very well now. I know my cycle. I know I'm not just shitting myself.
No, yeah. Alright, so yeah, moving on. Cora and Ford do bond, or try to bond throughout, but they're both kind of anxious with each other because they don't know how each other sort of reads each other. That's such a weird statement. Anyway, like, no one is really trying to make the first move. Like, they're trying to work each other out instead of just outwardly communicating with each other. And there were times where we found out that Cora likes music and she's into music, and Ford's like, well, I have a recording studio, like, we can hang out, talk music, talk shop, whatever. And that happens a few times throughout the book. But then Ford would go on to say that he doesn't know how to treat her, or he doesn't know how to be a father to her. And it's like, you're doing just fine by talking about music. That's just the surface level stuff, but, like, you're, you know, taking the right steps forward. And then he's all anxious about it, and Rosie's very reassuring. There were some comments from other characters, I forget who, maybe it's Willa, maybe it's his parents, but they kept saying that, Cora's exactly like Ford. And it's like, I feel like in the whole nature-nurture thing, genetically she's probably Ford in a sense, or half Ford in a sense. But, like, the way she was nurtured, I feel like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm like, because how is that possible? And also, yeah, Cora, her character aesthetic, she's very into the black clothes and, like, very, not necessarily emo-esque, but she's, like, halfway there. She may as well be. Like a grunge?
Yeah.
Is that the aesthetic style?
I think so.
Yeah, not really into, but I guess that could also just show, like, growing up, you know, her dad was sick and died, and, like, it's very depressive. She's in her depression era. Of course.
I really enjoyed, though, how she wore all black or whatever, but then she wore Rosie's pink scrunchie.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and I love that Rosie was kind of coaxing her into, you know, into brighter colours and being like, you know, like, it's not, you don't have to be ashamed to like the colour pink. Because I think teenage girls, we all had a stage where we hated pink.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, for sure.
Like, being too much of a girly girl is, like, out of the question. But, yeah, I liked that, Rosie took on that sort of... It's kind of weird, like, I feel like Rosie's just...
Surrogate mother.
Surrogate mother, and it's like, her real mother should be doing this, you know? But yeah, I liked that whole, like, you don't have to be... You can still like black clothes and do all this and that and be, like, an edgy kid, but, like, you can still like the colour pink, and you can show a sign, her feminine side and stuff as well. Like, those are good messagings and stuff that Elsie writes so well. And, of course, it gets to a point where Rosie and Ford, the tension is so high, they have some kissing moments and they make out a few times. And then it gets to a point where it's like, you know what, we got to keep it profesh because we work with each other. This is weird. This is awkward. Again, a faux HR issue. And of course, it only lasts 2 seconds.
Yes, of course.
And it's because it's on the cusp or the precipice of them admitting that they actually love each other as well. So I just find that so annoying now. It's like they just need to add an extra sentence into their conversation. What happened? I'm not sure, but I don't know. Like Rosie gets pissed at Ford. I think it's because of the whole professional element to their relationship.
Because he's like, I'm not going to kiss you again.
Away.
Like, we have to be professionals, blah blah blah. And then she's like, okay. And then because obviously, so her name is Rosalie, must be a Twilight fan. And so when he's being professional, he calls her Rosie, and then when Rosalie, and then when they're not professional, he calls her Rosie. So she's like, oh, so we're back to Rosalie now, or whatever.
Yeah, that's funny. But then, like, he goes away to take Cora to visit his mother, and I think Rosie gets a bit weirdly jealous, being like, because it's like, oh, Ford, you can actually be with whoever you want, but I feel like he's not wanting to be with the 50-year-old woman.
Yeah,
you know?
And then also,
like, I think that was a joke as well.
Yeah, there's that, there's like a ball or whatever, and
fundraiser.
He's like, oh, like RSVP for me with a +1, and she's like, who's your +1? And he's like, obviously it's you.
Yeah, bozo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, they obviously can't do it, and it's just borderline annoying for writers to do that now. Have them profesh from the start, and then have them struggle to like keep their feelings at bay.
Yeah.
When they've been flirting and like borderline hate fucking already, like.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of hate fucking, well, quote-unquote hate, because they don't hate each other. There's a bit of a hate fuck followed by a making love fuck, so...
Yeah, love that.
The poor desk. The poor office space. Someone
I knew, as soon as like, they were in there and they were, you know, doing their emails and stuff, and I'm like, they're gonna fuck in there. And I'm like, that's gross, because other people have to be in there.
I love how we just can't suspend the disbelief. It's just the realistic of, like, someone else is going to be in that room at some point. And their bodily fluids have been all over the place. And yeah, there's a fundraiser for, I don't know, wildlife, something, conservation, I don't know. And so Ford takes Rosie as his +1 / date / introducing her to everybody as his girlfriend, which is lovely. And this is where we find out that Ford has been fucking with Stan in the backdrop throughout the entirety of the book. So at this fundraiser, Rosie meets an ex-coworker who was her friend, and she kind of gives the goss about what's happening with Stan. Someone has been buying the office buildings and have been subsequently evicting Stan and his employees from office to office all across Vancouver. And it is written and described that Ford is getting a little bit anxious about this conversation, so we know he has something to do with it. And then later blows up that, Ford was the one that's been buying all this real estate and then evicting people because he thinks it's the viable lesson for someone who seems to have power to feel like he has no power at all. It's a whole ass lesson, which is great. Great. Like, again,
but also, this happened in 50 Shades of Grey.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, so essentially, Anastasia Steele got a job in, like, a publishing thing or whatever, because of course she did, and she, like, becomes, like, a really high... Anyway, not the point. And then Christian buys, like, the publishing house. So he becomes, like, her boss's boss's boss. Like, yeah.
Everything comes back to 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes.
No, that's so funny. And then subsequently we get a phone call saying that West, our buddy boy, our single dad #1 bowler in Rose Hill, has been arrested.
Yes.
And now we're thinking, why the fuck, what did he do? So allegedly he was arrested for assault, but then it in fact turns out that he is pressing charges on Stan. Because there was this whole little altercation. Because West wanted the glory of handing him another eviction notice. Yes. And I think that's when Stan kind of lost the plot and he attacked West. But I loved when Rosie cracked the full shits at Ford, because it is great. because she's correct. It's about how, you know, Ford is this, like, untouchable sort of billionaire. He has all this privilege. And West is more, described as a rough around the edges. Like, he'll do the dirty work. And Rosie didn't appreciate that Ford would put her brother in that sort of position. And that he doesn't think about actions and their consequences. And they're not teenagers anymore. Again, it's a very sort of childish sort of thing, despite the real estate costing millions and millions of dollars. Anyway, all for a lesson. And so Rosie rips into Ford, and I thought it was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and it's warranted because, it's like you have money, you can get yourself out of anything. But her brother can't just be your little scapegoat.
Exactly, and it was just marvellous. And then, Ford's having his tail between his legs, and he goes and fixes the situation. He bails Wes out. Oh, and also Rosie was unimpressed that Ford told West about the groping situation. Because it wasn't his secret to tell, which is another powerless thing, where it's Rhett's telling or exposing Summer's secret to everybody at the hospital. Whereas, in a way, Ford did the same thing, albeit it's only to West. And West is always very protective of his family and his sister. So, all's well that ends well. And then there's an epilogue, because we love an epilogue. Oh yeah, Ford eventually asks Rosie to be his full-on business partner because, you know, if they're going down together. We love that. Epilogue, Rosie and Cora are playing Bloody Mary because it's a fun horror game. Or Rosie talks about a time where she was playing with a Ouija board and Wes flickered on the lights to make it seem like they summoned a ghost, which is funny. And so the same thing happens in this epilogue. Ford and Wes are playing the prank on them. And then at the same time, Ford proposes to Rosie.
Yes, I thought that was very cute.
And they're going to rename the Rose Hill Records to, I forget what it's called. Something to do with Rosie. Yeah. Wild Rose Studios or something? Wild Rosie Studios? Yeah, Wild Rose Records, sorry.
Wild Rose Records.
I'm just an idiot. Yeah, which is fun. I kind of prefer Rose Hill Records, to be fair.
Because it's recording studio in Rose Hill.
Yeah. And then, there's this other spiel about how they describe each other's love as wild, and I don't think their love is that wild, but whatever floats their boat, whatever they think is the right course of action for them. But and then there's the whole diary pages thing, and Ford has the key to it because Rosie tossed it back in the day, and it's just such a romantic gesture apparently. I like the use of diaries and emails and that to progress the story. And like it didn't seem like there was too much of that, which is great. It was all balanced out nicely. But I just couldn't get behind the whole sperm donor, you're my father, let's play happy family. And the whole, like, we hate each other angle when we know that's definitely not the case. Because if she hated him, she wouldn't beg for a job. If he hated her...
he wouldn't give her the job,
Exactly. He wouldn't be paying her hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I do love this, I don't know, trope where female MC works for male MC and he's overpaying her. Like, it's always fun to me, but of course, everything is easier when you're rich. That's it for Wild Love, I guess, unless you have anything else you want to say. I feel like I've been talking.
No, so I feel like that is an adequate summary of the book. Shall we go to the Stars That Listen? The Stars That Listen is a segment that we do at the end of our podcast where we go to Goodreads and we find a 1-star review and a 5-star review that we connect with or we want to fight with. And we always start with the 1-star because we don't like to end on a negative note. And sometimes we have multiples because they're funny.
Alright, I have 2 1-stars and then like a 3-star.
Okay.
Just for difference. Shall I go first?
Yes.
So both of mine are in the one screenshot, and we didn't search too hard for these. One person said, do they even actually like each other? 1 star. And then the next one is, how did we go from heartless and reckless to this? ? Which is fair. It's a fair critique. Alright, what's your...
I have, it was so bad that I want to barf.
Oh no.
And then wild love this might not be, but a wild flop it sure was.
That's funny. That's quality.
Yeah.
That is an absolute perler. I love that. So my 3-star is a couple of paragraphs. Elsie, baby, what was this? It felt quite honestly ghost-written. Like, what the actual fuck? I love her single dad trope, and she has minimally let me down, but not to this extent. Plot was funky as fuck, first of all, but the relationship dynamic was, I'm just in confusion. There was absolutely no chemistry, zilch. Fucks could fall from the sky and I'd whip out my umbrella with how little I cared about them getting together or their so-called feelings. I actually liked the quote-unquote kid because she was 12. Like, you're cool. It was so terribly boring. I almost DNF'd at 17%. Jesus. Like, girl, no, I usually fly through her books. I sat on this review for a few days and could not tell you one thing that happened in this book. Terrible sign. Goddamn.
Jeez. Okay. I have a big 5-star.
Okay, I have a little 5-star just to finish it off, just to cap it off.
Okay. Are you kidding me? Perfection. This is how you write a childhood friends to lovers romance. The pining. The way Ford was so gone for Rosie from the start, and Ford as a single dad. The diary pages. The diary key. Obsessed. Like I said, the pining in this was everything, and I just loved the dynamics of the characters so much. The setting was small town and so sweet, and I loved how Ford dove headfirst into being a dad. Single dad bowling, love it. You have to pick this book up. So many scenes had me swooning, and I just could not stop reading. Also, I just want to add on to this, sorry. I am 75% of the way through, and I have not hit a sex scene yet.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, that is all.
Yeah, and then my final 5-star to cap it all off. This book made me wish that I had a brother that had a billionaire best friend that I could fall in love with. I mean, don't we all? And also, 5 stars in my heart just because of the bowling. Because bowling is an underrated sport and no one appreciates it.
Yes.
But me. So, Elsie, if you add more bowling scenes into your books, then I will read them. This is a threat and a challenge. Alright, that concludes this episode of Letterbox Book Club.
Thank you all for listening. You can find us on Instagram at letterbox_book_club. From there, our link tree is in the bio where you'll find us in all the places. Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud if you're gnarly, etc., etc. Claire, have you had a haircut?
I have had a haircut.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, thank you. It's just a bit shorter, that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries.
Thanks for noticing.
You're welcome.
Alright, thanks for listening. I don't know what's out next week. I think it might be Kenzie telling me about Credence, which may be fun, but also it might not be for whatever reason, so.
Oh well.
Anyway, keep an ear out.
Thanks
again, Hatchet.
Yes.
Thanks, Hatchet, for this book.
Thank you. Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
bye.
Bye.